Hello and welcome to CCHW, Christ Church of the Holy Word, and this is our study, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, of the New Testament. And we're getting very close to wrapping this up, the book of Acts. Tonight we are in chapter 24, and in the last chapter, we have seen that these evil Sadducees, Kenites, have tried to kill Paul. I mean, this isn't the first time, but 40 men associated with them had taken a vow to not eat or drink anything until they had killed Paul. Paul's nephew went to the chief captain. He let him know. Paul's in the custody now of the Romans, of this chief captain, and he's taken Paul into custody in order to protect him. Now, he finds out, he knows now that Paul is a Roman citizen, and, Roman citizens in that day, the world was controlled by Rome, and if you're a Roman citizen, you're the top dog, and you don't do anything to a Roman citizen without real cause and permission from higher up. So they'd beaten Paul a little bit, these Roman soldiers, and so the chief captain, when he found out Paul was also a Roman, he was in fear for his life. So finding this out, and then Paul's nephew going to the chief captain and telling him about this vow that these 40 men had taken, and they were setting up a trap for the next day, the next morning, so that the chief captain would bring him into the Sanhedrin council, and then these 40 men were going to pounce on him before any of the Roman soldiers could do anything and kill him. Well, Paul's nephew found out about it. He went, he spilled the beans to the chief captain, and the chief captain snuck Paul out of town by night, delivered him to the governor, along with a written letter from him explaining the whole situation. And now Paul is with the governor Felix. We're going to pick it up right where we left off. One last thing. Felix has ordered the Sanhedrin, the Sadducees, and the ones that want to kill Paul, to come to him and testify there whatever they have to say about Paul. So let's pick it up right where we left off. Paul's been taken to Caesarea by the Romans. He's with the governor, and the governor's ordered the Jews to come and testify against him if they have anything to say. Here we go. The 24th chapter of this book of Acts, verse 1, and verse 1 reads, "And after 5 days, Ananias the high priest descended with the elders and with a certain orator named Tertullus, who informed the governor against Paul." So here come the Jews from Jerusalem, and of course, I say Kenites, and they've brought this. They call him an orator. This Tertullus, he's a lawyer. We'll see that, and they're going to try to let him speak for them. Verse 2. And when he, Tertullus, was called forth, Tertullius began to accuse Paul, saying, "See that by thee," and he's speaking to Paul here, "seeing that by thee we enjoy great quietness, and that very worthy deeds are done unto this nation by thy providence." So this lawyer for the Jews from Jerusalem is saying, what's happened to you, Paul, has brought peace and tranquility to the nation of Israel. Verse 3. We accept it always and in all places, most noble Felix, with all thankfulness. So he's trying to flatter the governor Felix. Verse 4. Notwithstanding, the lawyer continues, that I be not further tedious unto thee, speaking to Felix, I pray thee that thou wouldest hear us of thy clemency a few words. Verse 5. For we have found this man a pestilent fellow, and a mover of sedition among all the Jews throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes. So he's painting this picture of Paul as being a really evil guy, and I'm sure Felix has heard about the Christian movement. He's calling it the Nazarenes because it's Jesus of Nazareth, of course. But he's saying this is one bad hombre, this Paul. Verse 6. Who, continuing speaking of Paul, who also hath gone about to profane the temple, whom we took, and whom we judged according to our law. If it had been left up to the law of the Jews, these Kenites, they would have already killed Paul. And basically that's what this lawyer is saying, and now he continues, verse 7. But the chief captain Lysias came upon us, and with great violence took him away out of our hands. So here he is playing the victim, trying to kind of cast a bad light on the chief captain. Let's see if Felix is buying it. Verse 8. Commanding his accusers, speaking of the chief captain, commanding his accusers to come unto thee, by examining of whom thyself mayest take knowledge of all these things, whereof we accuse him. So the chief captain, what he's saying is the chief captain made us come all the way down here, and it's all about this bad and evil man, Paul. Verse 9. And the Jews also assented, saying that these things were so. So all the Jews that came with the lawyer are backing him up, saying, yeah, this is true, that's what's happened. Verse 10. Then Paul, after that the governor had beckoned unto him to speak, answered, for as much, this is what he said, for as much as I know that thou hast been of many years a judge unto this nation, I do the more cheerfully answer for myself. Paul's buttering up the governor a little bit himself here. He's saying, now I know all about how great of a judge you are, and I completely trust that you're going to be just. Verse 11. Because that thou mayest understand that there are yet but 12 days since I went up to Jerusalem to worship. Paul's saying, hey, just 12 days ago, I came to Jerusalem. I haven't even been there that long. And I went there to worship. Remember, Pentecost was the feast that he went to Jerusalem to worship. Verse 12. And they, these Jews, neither found me in the temple disputing with any man. I never did that. Neither rising up the people. I didn't stir the people up. Neither in the synagogue. I didn't even go to the synagogues, nor in the city. So Paul's saying, I haven't been out there teaching anywhere, Governor. And I haven't been in the temple. I haven't been out in the midst of the people. I haven't been anywhere. 13. Neither can they prove the things whereof they now accuse me. Paul's saying they got no evidence of what they're saying. 14. But this I confess unto thee, unto the governor. He's speaking directly to Felix. That after the way which they call heresy, Christianity, so worship I the God of my fathers, believing all things which are written in the law and in the prophets. Paul's saying that he does worship God in exactly the way that they're calling heresy, Christianity, but it's actually according to the law of Moses and his prophets, because it was all written in the Scripture, beloved. That's what Paul's saying. 15. He continues, and have hope towards God, which they themselves also allow, that there shall be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and the unjust. Friends, we're all resurrected from this fleshly body. When we die, our spirit within our spiritual body returns to where we came from. It's stated many times in the Bible and in the law of Moses. And Paul is saying to the governor, hey, I believe what the law of Moses says. Remember, Paul is speaking here, and he picked this very issue for the specific reason that this issue is what divides the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Let's continue, verse 16. And herein do I exercise myself to have always a conscience void of offense towards God and towards men. Paul's saying that I hold no malice towards God or any man. 17. Now, Paul continues, now, after many years, I came to bring alms to my nation and offering. Paul's saying, I've been out of the country for many years. I've been in Asia, at least 3 years, we know that. And he's saying, here I come to my home land, Jerusalem, to give alms. Remember, Pentecost, a high holy day. And that's the only reason I went to Jerusalem. That's basically what he's saying. Verse 18. Whereupon, when I got there to Jerusalem, whereupon certain Jews from Asia found me purified in the temple, neither with multitude nor with tumult. Paul's saying, hey, I was almost finished in this cleansing ritual of purification and the vows of the Nazarite, remember? He said, I wasn't causing any problems when these guys took me. 19. Who ought to have been here before thee and object if they had aught against me. He said, What happened? Where were they? Paul's asking. 20. Or else let these same hearsay, if they have found any evil doing in me while I stood before the council. So, Paul's saying is, hey, let them speak. I mean, don't just listen to this lawyer guy. If they've got something against me, let's hear it. 21. Except it be for this one voice, this lawyer, that I cried standing among them, touching the resurrection of the dead, I am called in question by you this day. So Paul's saying this one lawyer is the only one that's accusing me, Governor. 22. And when Felix heard these things, having more perfect knowledge of that way, he understood a little bit more, he deferred to them and said, when Elias, the chief captain, shall come down, I will know the uttermost of your matter. So Felix had more complete, more information about this whole event, and now he has determined that the chief priest, he has determined that the chief captain he's going to bring him down and he's going to tell his side. And what Felix is saying is, then I will understand better how to determine this matter. Verse 23. And he, Felix, commanded the centurion to keep Paul and to let him have liberty, and that he should forbade none of his acquaintances to minister or come unto him. So Felix has set up this situation where Paul's going to be in custody, but his friends can come and see him. He's pretty much sort of very loose house arrest is what I would call it, verse 24. And after certain days, when Felix came with his wife Drusilla, which was a Jewess, she was of Israel, he sent for Paul and heard him concerning the faith in Christ. So Felix, with his wife, an Israelite, wanted to hear about Christianity. 25. And as he reasoned of righteousness, temperance, and judgment to come, Felix trembled and answered, Go thy way for this time. When I have a convenient season, I will call for thee. So, here's the situation. Felix sends Paul away. Remember, he's under this, he's still in custody, but has liberty in this sort of, like I said, a very loose house arrest. The way I envision it, he probably had a guard with him and said, hey, I want to go in and do some shopping, and they'd go, and Felix is protecting him. Verse 26. Verse 26. He hoped also that, this is speaking of Felix, he hoped that money should have been given him of Paul, that he might loose him, wherefore he sent for him the oftener, and communed with him. So make no mistake about what this is saying. Felix, the governor, he's looking to get some money out of this deal. And that's probably one of the reasons why he let Paul's friends and supporters go in and out, and he was probably thinking one of them or some of them would put together some money to give him so he would cut Paul loose. I think he also wanted to hear Paul teach. He'd have dinner with him several times, friend. You know what they were talking about. Jesus Christ. Let's continue. Verse 27, and verse 27 reads, "But after 2 years, Paul lived in this loose house arrest." Now, remember, this is one of the places where he was writing the epistles. When you read one of Paul's epistles, could have very well been written in this 2-year period of time. But after 2 years, let's continue, 27. "But after 2 years, Porcius Festus came into Felix's room." He came to the home of Felix, and Felix, willing to show the Jews a pleasure, let Paul bound. He kept Paul bound. Felix, I'm sure, was ready to let Paul go, saying, this guy, I mean, they got nothing against him. I don't think he was converted. It doesn't say he was converted, but he certainly knows Paul hadn't committed any atrocities against these Jews or against Rome. Now, Festus, if you don't remember, was the governor of Judea, and so he came to Felix on behalf of the Kenites. And after Paul had been living in this semi under arrest situation for 2 years, having dinner with Felix and his wife and teaching, 2 years of it, this Festus comes on behalf of the Jerusalem Jews. And Felix, the governor, trying to gain points with those Jews down there, he keeps Paul on this house arrest. He keeps Paul in custody. Friends, I hope you can join us next time when we are going to cover the 25th chapter of this book of Acts. Until then, God bless you. God bless yours. Stay in His Word, friends. It is the safest place that we can be while we inhabit this crazy world that we are living in.